the culture was against women doing very much more than being second-class citizens.
I was initially a little bit concerned when I had to go to my manager to say, oh look, I'm expecting a baby and what will happen with my role.
I'm not naive enough to believe that there aren't ever going to be challenges.
There's been a lot of structural political challenges to prevent a lot of females achieving what they want to do.
I recently completed the Master of Management. It was a 12-month program and I completed it just before Christmas.
I completed the Bachelor of Economics degree with honours.
I completed a Bachelor of Economics. It was between 1943 and 46. It was a 4-year degree in those days.
I completed the Bachelor of Commerce degree, finished that in year 2000.
The first degree was a Bachelor of Economics, that was 1951. The second one was Master of Economics, that was 1954, and at that time I was the only woman with a master's degree from Sydney. The last one was Bachelor of Laws, and that was 1990.
The economics faculty didn't make any discernment between men and women.
There were actually 4 women compared to, I don't know, 100 men.
First of all, it was wartime, and not many people went to the university at all. The parents had hardly got over the depression. They didn't have a lot of money to spare. They weren't going to send their daughters to university if there was a choice between sons or daughters, because sons were always there to be providing for their family.
My family has always been brought to, I suppose, a typical Asian mentality, you know, work hard, study hard and get the good job. It was almost a given that I would go to university.
My parents could afford it, so therefore it was easy for me to go, whereas other people would have struggled. So I was just terribly fortunate. I stayed at home with the family, and that's what everybody did in those days. Nobody left school and supported themselves. It was unusual to do that, very unusual.
Through university I supported myself via working. Wanted to go down the working full-time for a year. My father sort of talked me out of that.
I had a full-time job. I was a full-time teacher. If you're working full-time, 5 days a week, and you're going to the university 5 nights a week, you don't have a lot of time. I used to have to study at the weekends. That was the only clear time, and in the trams.
One of my earliest memories or experiences is really one of greater flexibility and just having the opportunity to meet new people and explore new ideas.
We did our research going to Fisher or catching the tram into the city and going to the public library, and there were no computers for us to look up all the work on, so we spent hours doing that.
When I first became a high school principal, I was the youngest in the state, and I always thought it had something to do with my degrees.
I took a lot away from the academic experience because I gained a lot of the technical skills that I use day to day in my job.
It gave me a lot of confidence and equality with my husband and later clever children. And I remember once saying to my husband, when I was about 40 and finally my handicapped child was being a little bit easier, I think I ought to get a job. And he was so horrified. He said, "What?" And he was thinking that I wasn't thinking he was a good provider, that I was undermining him in that I would need a job. It was quite a different attitude. I think most of the married women in my social group were inclined to work on charities. I was on various committees, and we worked hard.
I think nowadays there's a much wider opportunity and almost a taking for granted that having done so much, there will be the opportunity to do some more. And I think people look for that opportunity and they take it.
The trajectory really is completely up to you. There are opportunities for international secondments. In the next few years, I'd really like to establish myself in the firm. Certainly 5 or 10 years from now, I'd definitely be aiming for senior manager and director. There's a club on campus here, 85 Broads, and that involved meeting lots of corporate partners of the chapter and just hearing their stories and how they manage their work and their home life and husbands and children and how they manage their future aspirations.
Currently I have a female mentor. She's great. She's a director in a number of top listed ASX companies. And she's really helped me get that balance between relationships and work, which is, I think, natural at sort of my age, where a lot of my friends are having babies and getting married.
One of my first managers said that there were 3 factors to success. One was luck, which you can't control. The second one is what you know, which obviously has to do with education and experience, but the third one is who you know, and which I always take back to networking, because obviously the more people you know, the more ideas you get, the more opportunities you get. For a lot of people, networking doesn't come naturally. And if it doesn't come naturally, you need to look at ways of how you can force yourself to network. And that might be through simply joining a committee where there are people from different industries or different people from different departments that make you network simply by being at that committee.
Even to this day, I am quite in touch with a number of my ex-students, and every now and again somebody will ring up and say, have you heard of this, you know, what do you think about that? And you just yarn to them. A lot of them, I think, are looking at promotion and wondering, you know, is it worth it? It's all very informal, I might add.
I did some work experience in a big firm, and I just felt, oh, there are so many men here and they're all very important, and there was this little bit of self-doubt there that perhaps I don't belong here. So even though they were extremely friendly, I think being a female, that was a little challenge, perhaps an internal one that I myself need to overcome in order to step it up and achieve in the workforce.
A lot of the directors sitting on the board were male. They were very encouraging and very supportive. Like when I got promoted to chief economist, that was a male manager that gave me the role. I certainly am quite comfortable working in a role that is quite male-dominated, but I don't see any sort of roadblocks for women.
Well, I feel that we've gone through a social revolution.
I expect of myself that I will go on and achieve what I want to achieve, whereas back then, you know, these women may have had aspirations, but perhaps they had to hold them a bit closer to their heart.
Well, in my day, there was just a murmur of equal pay for equal work, which was only just a question that might be raised in university life, but not really out in the open.
How much further have we got to go? And not just in Western countries, but also in underdeveloped countries as well. Women there aren't as lucky as I am, and I'm very aware of that fact. So I'm so grateful to have the opportunities that I have. And I really hope that in the future I can make a difference for women around the world.
They were always not equal. And so the challenge was to make them more important and to be as good as the men in whatever they did. And I think that challenge still remains today.
There's a number of setbacks that any one person can get in their life, be it physical, health issues, family-wise, but just having the determination to get there with the right support will ultimately help you achieve your goals.
I feel very much that the women of today are putting their career far before their children in early parenthood. I feel that those early years of nurture are terribly important. I'm about to give all my grandchildren enough money to stay home so that they also can nurture their children while they're small. They all have lovely careers, they've all been to the university, and they all want to get back to it eventually, but they love their children, and I'm very happy for them to stay home till the youngest is on his feet.
I'm quite lucky in that I have my mother around who helps look after my daughter. I spent quite some time thinking about what I wanted to do when I would come back from maternity leave. I wanted to come back part-time and still keep my role as a chief economist. I've been really lucky in that I do have that flexibility in my job, and they've been really open and embraced it and worked with me on it. But I just don't know if all industries or all companies are like that, and I suspect they're not.
We've made so many leaps and bounds in the past generations that by the time I get there, we can think it through and talk it through amongst my manager and my boss, and hopefully we can manage those challenges when they come.
They're the only people that give birth, so they've got a special category. But I do think after that period, they don't have any barriers.
I think there'll be a lot more opportunity available to my daughter by the time she's my age.
Well, I think it's important to celebrate International Women's Day because we've gone through a number of challenges. You know, the journey for females to get where we are is such an amazing story, but also support each other to get to, you know, where we could be in the next 5 or 10 years' time.
It wouldn't be too far out to say that perhaps a 100% female board in a top 100 company. I mean, 50 years ago, no one batted an eyelid when there was 100% men on the board, so hey, why not 100% women on a board in the future?
Well, we've already got a female Prime Minister. Who knows, a female president. First female on the moon. Wouldn't it be funny to have a female-only Bondi rescue crew?